go to jail. Right? So if you need help in your taxes, you come and see me, you don't need to go to jail. Yeah, that is a better way of remembering me. Now, today I have a lot of dollars and cents to share with you, which is called tithes and offerings. And I try to make, because this is a very factual information, I try to make it user-friendly. And the kids, that means those younger than your parents, if you see a red number in that slide, that means the answer is in that slide in your worksheet. I pass out a worksheet. Okay? For the adults, I would like you all to stay with me, and if it helps you to stay with me by answering the questions in the worksheet, please share with your family. All right. I know we have prayed before, but I'd like to invite all of you to pray with me as I share today's sermon. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you that we can come together to establish our faith. And I pray that you give me the words to express and explain the biblical foundation of this aspect of our Christian life. And may the Holy Spirit take those words to impress in our hearts, to soften our hearts, open our mind, so that we can have a right establishment of the foundation in our Christian walk. Thank you for hearing my prayers. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So the title of today's slide is Tithes and Offerings. Yeah? And I would like to look at 3 key points in today's sharing. Right? The first one is the biblical foundation. Where in the Bible talk about tithes and offerings? And what is it used for? Now, tithes and offerings are not synonymous. There are 2 aspects of monetary return to God. Yeah? And the purpose and some success stories personally and also as a gateway church, right? So children, if you look at the slide, there is a number 2. That means that the answers is in this slide in your question sheet number 2. So stay with me, everyone. Yeah. The first one, the biblical foundation. I think many of us are aware of this, but nevertheless, I would like to refresh our memory of where in the Bible do you find the establishment of tithes and offering. It is established in the Garden of Eden. God created the earth and He is the owner of everything. He owns the whole world. He owns the whole universe. And He gives and provides for all that we have in this planet Earth, according to the book in Genesis. Our response to what God has provided for us, including His life and the sustenance of our life, is seen in what we return to what He has given. Sabbath time. God has given us life. We give 1/7 of it to Him. Tithe, the provisions that He given to us, we give 1/10 back to Him. God has created us. We consecrate our body as the temple of God. So none of what we have is from ourselves. It's all from God. And we dedicate a portion of it back to Him according to His instructions. Right? When is tithe first practiced in the Old Testament? It is first given by Abraham when he returned from a conquest that his brother, his nephew Lot was captured. Yeah. So Lot was naughty, and then he was captured, and Abram, that was his name at that point in time, went to rescue him. And on his way back, he gave tithe to King Melchizedek. Now, kids, maybe it's the first time that you come across Melchizedek. No, I don't think it's the first time. But Melchizedek is the king that received the tithe from Abraham. Now, Ellen White said that Melchizedek is not Jesus Christ. He's just a king. But it is a type of Christ, that means an example, that received the offerings that Abraham came back from his conquest from this war. This is the first recording of tithes. Yeah. The second is Jacob promised to give it when he gave 1/10 of his provisions back to God as an acknowledgement to God for his blessing. It continues to the formation of Israel in the Old Testament. Tithes become a system. That means almost like a systematic logistical arrangement when Israel was established. And the two key verses that most of us remember will be in Leviticus and Numbers, where Israel were commanded to give 1/10 of their agricultural produce and livestock back to God. Tithing was also specified in these two references, that it is meant to support the missionaries. At that time was the Levites, the priests, and those who helped in the temple services. Right? It is a way to honor God and remember that He is the owner and provider of everything that we have on earth. Now, in the New Testament, it was further reinforced, and it's recorded in Matthew 23 that Jesus emphasized the giving of tithes. But his emphasis is not on the physical return of the tithes and offerings, but more with the intention in your heart. Yeah. Whether you give willingly or you otherwise. And giving should go hand in hand with a righteous living. In the book of Hebrews, Paul recorded Abraham and Melchizedek event that we visited in the previous slide, that is started with Abraham giving to Melchizedek. And it shows that God is the source of everything. So the New Testament basically mirrors the Old Testament in the establishment of tithes. Now, what does tithe help us, or what lesson does God want us to remember when we give tithe from Genesis to the New Testament? Is that He is the owner of everything, and He provided everything to us. And we don't give tithe, we return tithe, because we take everything from God and just return it back to Him. So that is the first big picture of today's sharing. And what is the purpose? Like in the Old Testament, it is supporting the temple workers. In the New Testament, it is supporting mission workers. Yeah. So the purpose of tithe is for support of gospel workers, those who preach the word, those who share the word, yeah, in full-time ministry or otherwise. Now, the key characteristics of tithes, there are 5. Yeah. The first one, it is called holy money. What is the word that the Bible uses? Holy. Yeah. So when you earn $100, 10% belongs to God. It is holy. So holy means who can use it? Only God. It's for God. So if we remember that tithe is holy, yeah, and the rest of the 90%, we have the jurisdiction to decide what to do with it. But the 10%, no. Holy unto God, belongs to God. If I say my pen belongs to Cheng, so who has the decision of what he wants to do with the pen? He, not me, but he just lent it to me. So you get that picture? It is that serious. Tithe is holy money, right? And the second characteristic of tithe is that the Bible specified a fixed percentage that is called holy. It's not arbitrary. Yeah? It's not arbitrary. I feel like this month 10%, next month 13%, another month 5%. No. Fixed holy percentage of your increase. That means of your income. Yeah. And it is all inclusive. That means the yield of what you have is gross, it's not net. Yeah. So all inclusive. That means the growth that you have in your agriculture, the gross income. Right? We'll go through some examples after that. Yeah. So one is when you are employee, yeah, and you are paid, let's say, 5,000 per month, yeah, and they take Medicare from you, they take tax from you, and then your take-home pay is, for example, 3,470. Your tithe is 10% of 5,000, not this one. Because what is the growth is 5,000. What is your income is 5,000. The statutory deductions, that means the silver law deduction, the Australian government deduction is not considered when you give tithe. Maybe you look at it this way. If we tithe 3,470, 10%, that means our tithe is decided by the tax office. Yeah? If the tax increase, we tithe less. If the tax decrease, we tithe less or more. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I see a lot of puzzle face. Okay, forget about my second way of expressing it. But tithe is on gross. Gross means the increase that God gives you. Yeah. And if let's say you are a contractor, you do a personal service income, right? Tithe again is on the profit. Yeah? 5% of net profit. That means the cash money that you take back. So, for example, let's say you're an IT professional, you bill, did I give an example? No. You bill 5,000. And then in order to bill 5,000, you need to buy this software, that one, whatever. So the net cash increase that you have, that you put in your pocket, that is the tithe amount. Yeah. You don't include other expenses. Yeah. One example is, if like this is self-explanatory. Yeah. So the cash that you take home, basically, is the amount that you tithe on. Now, in the Ellen G. White website, you find that there is a small booklet called Tithing Principles and Guidelines. And how this comes about is because church members and workers continually ask the GC about, should I tithe this? Should I tithe that? What am I going to do with this? And they come up with these guidelines, based on the working policy that they voted in the 2018 edition. And it is written in a very American-specific scenario. So, for example, the Americans do not have Medicare levy. Their pension system is different from the superannuation system in Australia. But nevertheless, this guideline gives you an idea on how they apply the tithe on their compensations. Because nowadays, compensation is quite complex. It's not just pure salary. You have employee share plans, you have performance shares, and so on and so forth. So this guideline help to deal with those questions. And you also deal with your Social Security in the US system, and not exactly similar, but comparatively your superannuation system in Australia. So based on that document, this is the summary of what is titheable, what is not. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. Wages, if you are a contractor, your business profits. If you put money in the bank, you buy shares, you have some dividends, and you have an investment home, blah, 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 blah. So it's all that. This is how they apply the tithing principle, all from this document. I'm just summarizing it here, all right? And then, further than that, they said, I still have so many questions. Should I tithe this? Should I tithe that? So I picked a few very common questions. And if you want the answer, go back to that reference and study prayerfully. The first one is, am I supposed to pay tithe if I sell my land, my house, and that I inherited? Right? This is a gray area. You didn't work for it. You're gifted at it, and you convert it to a cash. Do you need to pay tithe on that? Second question. If my spouse is not a Christian, and I don't work, I stay at home, and he gives household money, should I tithe that money? These are real practical questions. The answer is found in that working policy. Refer to that, because each interpretation can be subjective, according to your conviction. Now, this one, okay, there is a number here, so kids, you pay attention to this. One question that I find intriguing is that, does God require me to pay tithe from gift money, pocket money, birthday money, Christmas money? My children receive big ampao from Ama. So should I pay tithe? Right? So that was a common question when my kids were young. I, as a mother, I choose to ask them to pay tithe. Why? Because I know one day they will work and they will earn money. So when they learn to pay tithe as a child, when they work, they wouldn't struggle with paying tithe, because it becomes a lifestyle. Yeah. So that was my choice. And then birthday, Amma again give big ampao to my kids. Oh, they're very happy. Mommy, you see, Amma give me. So I say, well, you give Jesus a birthday tithe. Yeah. So they pay tithe on those as well. Okay, children, one more question. If my parents give me money or if they care for my needs and buy me shoes, clothes, blah, 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 am I supposed to tithe those things? Yeah. I know of some friends whom, as adults, when they receive gifts, they will go to the supermarket and look at or shops to look at the value of that gift and they tithe accordingly. So this is really up to your conviction. Yeah. This one, if you're all provided for, do you tithe what you have received? Because the biblical foundation was God provided everything, and therefore we return the increase 1/10 back to Him. So parents provided everything to me. Do I return it to them? Okay, again, study that document and pray about your family situation. What lessons do you want to bring your children up? I think that should be the key. Yeah. All right. So here I talk about the resources. And the other two characteristics is systematic. That means periodic. There is a sequence to it, not haphazardly. Yeah. So in Singapore, we are paid monthly, so tithe monthly. In Australia, you are paid bi-monthly, so you tithe bi-monthly. Yeah, it's a systematic way of tithing. And it is for a specific use. Just now in the OT and in the New T, we say tithe is for the gospel workers. Yeah. So these are the 5 characteristics of tithe. Now, the use of tithe. Again, in the GC, they come up with a document on what the tithe is being used for. In this document, it basically shows that this summary shows the purpose of, or rather, the tithe is used to support these functions. Mainly the workers in those fields, okay? So like pastor, evangelist, and then in the Adventist school, the chaplain, not the teachers, but the chaplain, those are involved directly in the gospel worker. Tithe is definitely not used for rental of facilities, our potluck lunch, and so on and so forth. So it comes with a big, comprehensive detail, and that is only the summary. Now, where do you pay your tithes to? In Malachi 3:10. This is a very famous thing, and there is so much subjectivity in this verse. It says that if you will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such a blessing, there will not be room to receive it. So this is a promise that if you bring your tithe to the church, God will open the heavens of heaven and return you much more than you have. God will bless you much more than you have returned to Him. So the tithe you are to bring to God's storehouse. Now, where and what is the storehouse? And that is a lot of discussion in our church, in the GC. Long and short of it, our church believes that the storehouse is the treasury of our church. Yeah. We bring the tithe to the church and pay to the church that you are worshiping in. despite whether the church people are holy or not, despite whether your treasurer is honest or not. Right? I'm sure you have heard about cases that treasurers ran away with the money. Yeah, there are. We are human. I'm sure you see churches that could do better in terms of living out their Christian life. Of course, yeah. But that does not negate the instruction that tithe should be given to the local church that you worship in. Now, how is tithe after being collected in the local church? How is it distributed? Right? To understand how our church system distribute the tithe, we have to have a big picture of our church structure. Our church is like kueh lapis, a few layers. Yeah. The first is at the ground level, the local church, like Gateway East. And then we are part of the Australian conference, 9 states. We have South Australia, New South Wales, and so on. 9, Australia is divided into 9. And then Australia is part of the South Pacific division. So Australia and some of the islanders like Papua New Guinea, blah, 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 blah. And we form one of the 13 divisions in the GC. So this is how our church system stack up in terms of administration. It is not a administration of hierarchy power. It's more of an administration of logistics. Right? There is a difference. So you are here. You are part of a local church. Huh? You worship in Gateway East. Yeah? This is Gateway East. And the Victoria Conference, which we as a church Gateway belong to, employs Elder Stephen Liu. Stephen is the only person in this church that is paid by tithe. I'm not sure about Henry Pan. I think you are paid from the internal funds here. Yeah. So, why? Because Stephen is involved in gospel work. So he can be paid by money, by the Victorian Conference. Not that Henry is not paid by is not involved in the mission work, but he is from different budgeting. Right? So, and then Victoria Conference sits under Australian Conference. There are 9 conferences here, and then we belong to the division, South Pacific Division, and we go to the GC. All right. So how do the tithe money collected this morning travels? It travels in this way. You put your tithe, I'm not talking about offerings, you give to the local church, yeah, and 60% will be dispensed as pastor, evangelist in school, in hospital, and travel, and we leave the Australian Union to the GC. So there is a systematic way of calculating on how they use these tithes in the Seventh-day Adventist Church system. All right. Now, why does the Seventh-day Adventist Church use such a complex and comprehensive way of collecting and distributing the tithe? Because we want to aim for 2 things. One is we want to break away from the congregational way of administration. If you are in a congregational administration structure, right? The pastor that serves in ABC Church, in a congregational church, has a board. And this board, these are the board members, will decide how much to pay the pastor, how many pastors, and so on and so forth. And this board decides everything inside this church. Now, there would be a conflict of interest, right? Because the pastor that is employed by this board, and this board worship in this church, so it's very hard for the pastor to preach objectively. So we remove that conflict of interest. And the Adventist church system also allow for global outreach. Yes. In this way, when the tithe, where is it? We collect the tithe, and 20% leave the conference, the union, the division, goes to the GC, and the GC from there can pay missionaries to other countries to establish churches, which in the congregational church, not that they don't do it, they do it, but may not be that systematic. They do it according to their narrow scope. So that is the big difference between the Adventist church and the congregational church-based system. So when the tithe leaves our collection this morning, it goes to the GC and it goes to the countries to establish and to spread the word worldwide. Now, besides the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Catholic Church is the only other system that do systematic collection and also expenditure on a global basis. Most other churches will do it on a small scale. They do send missionaries here, there, everywhere, but very small scale, not coordinated. And they also do very small scale collection in their local churches. So this is the main difference. All right, now I want to share with you something that is easier to explain. It's very hard to explain the complicated system. I myself don't quite understand how they calculate the percentage and travel all the way up. But I thank God that not only we receive the blessings of tithes, but other countries that have not heard about the gospel receive missionaries paid by our tithes to hear the gospel. Now, my personal story. I will share with you my personal story. Many of us would have known that I come from a Sunday church many, many years before I become an Adventist. And in my Christian walk, I worship in the congregational church, and that's why I understand a bit about the congregation system. So when I became an Adventist in 1991, I embraced the teachings. I read about Ellen G. White, and I decided to bring up my children in a country where there is more space and more opportunities to explore about the opportunities and also to develop themselves. So in 1998, I migrated to Australia. When I become an Adventist, I learned about this tithing system. In the congregational church, of course, the pastor asks you to tithe, but they are not so strict about it. But when I become an Adventist, in the good old days, you have an envelope. And on the back of the envelope, it tells you 10% tithe, another percent this, another percent that. And we're supposed to write the amount of money, put the money inside, and give. Quite strict, And it's something that I'm not used to, and something that I struggle with. Right? So when I started working, and when I married Uncle Cheng, I had some money. For the first time in my life. At that time, Singapore was growing very well economically. So it's quite easy for people like me to get a good job. So I said, wow, some money in my bank. And I had this obsession about buying shoes. I like high heel shoes. obvious reason. I remember one time I went to Thailand for holiday. I came back with 9 pair of shoes, as if I'm a caterpillar. Can wear so many. So this obsession about shoes. I said, wow, yeah, I can buy this, I can buy that, And I grew up in a very humble home. Humble means not rich. So when money is in my bank account, shopping is the next step, And I struggled with paying tithes. Because every time I go, I write this, there goes my shoes, and then my handbag, and then this, and I find, every time I pay tithes, I struggle. So I come up with a very brilliant idea. I thought I was brilliant. I worked backwards. I said I will pay 1 year of tithes in advance. So I don't need to struggle every month. Part with it. Okay? And I even feel quite proud of it. You see, who pay tithes in advance? Only people like me. So I feel very holy, very proud. I no need to struggle. So life goes on. I did that for a few years. And then we migrated to Australia. Yeah. And I would think Malachi 3:10 would happen, right? Because God said, if you give, I will open the doors of heaven and pour down all my blessings. So I said, you see, I give. God will bless me for the rest of my life with lots and lots and even more. So I came to Australia. Lo and behold, uncle got a job. Long story short, shortly after a year, he was retrenched. Yeah? So we are so stressed. Oh no, no more job. Okay, what shall we do? Whatever. So we prayed, then we decided, okay, he will continue to stay in Australia. 4 months later, he got another job. Phew, yeah, Malachi 3:10. God bless. Because I paid tithes. Yeah. And then 8 months later, he got retrenched again. Goodness me. Wow, how many times do I have to learn this lesson of trusting God and depending on God? So in this second retrenchment, Uncle Cheng did not get a job until 1.5 years later. Wow, that was a very difficult time in my life and my family life. And a few things stood out to me. One thing that stood out to me is that when he was retrenched the second time, there was a church member from Mother Church, Mestet, who heard about his retrenchment. And she told us, okay, Judy, every week I go to Baker's Delight to collect the leftover bread. I will give you 1 bag. That bag is not Coles supermarket bag. That bag is the big black bag. All right? So every week, she will share with me 1 big bag bread, or 1 big black bag of bread. Now, I'm a Chinese. Yeah. I love rice and noodles. Yeah. But God provided bread. Okay. Yeah, be thankful for what you have, right? So until today, I'm so bred up, I need rice and noodles as a regular part of my diet. But anyway, back to the story. So she provided this bread for 1.5 years. Yeah. The day that Uncle Cheng got his next job, she told me, well, my friend working in that shop has resigned, so no more bread. I say, the timing is so exact. Yeah. And when we were collecting the bread in the middle. Oh yes, sorry, I got my story mixed up. So we finished the bread collection. And that was when Uncle Cheng got a job back in Singapore. So he has to go back to Singapore to work. And he worked there for 4 years. He came back when Daryl was having his VCE, my son had his VCE, and he came back to be with the family to support him in the studies without a job. Yeah. So that was my story. How I misunderstood Malachi 3:10. I thought when I give, and I give so righteously, God will definitely supply more than I need. And He did. Not in terms of monetary givings, blessings, but in terms of my basic needs for my family. Yeah. And then after that, we continue. We came to with Gateway East, and after Daryl graduated in 2013, yes. So after Uncle Cheng came back for a few years, he found another job in Sydney. This time he worked in Sydney for 5 years. And that job that he found in Sydney was able to support Bernice to finish her VCE. Yeah. So the day that she was deciding whether she should change school to take IB in MLC was the day that he got the job. Yeah, because when she moved school, she could not transfer her scholarship over. So she needs to pay to do IB in MLC at a reduced price, but not the same amount of scholarship. So God again give Bernice an opportunity to further her education, to finish her VCE or IB equivalent in MLC by providing him a job. Yeah. So what have I learned? God do not need me to tithe. He owns everything, yeah. But I need to return tithe. Tithing does not make me wealthy, but God kept His promise. Yeah? I tithe because I'm grateful. So now, when I tithe, I'm very grateful that I have a job. Yeah, God provided for me. Yeah, so I don't grudgingly tithe. Yeah, and I don't tithe 1 year in advance anymore because I don't struggle anymore. Yeah, because I happily and gratefully tithe. Yeah. Another thing that I want to share with you this morning is the difference between tithes and offerings. Yeah. Tithe is different from offerings. Now, in the Old Testament, there is a biblical record of first tithe, second tithe, and third tithe. But our church interpret these whole 3 different categories as follow. The first tithe is your 10% tithe. The second and third tithe is, we use a different word so that people like me don't get confused. We call it offering. Now, how come our church do it that way? Is they work backwards. The 10% tithe, the purpose is for gospel workers. The offerings is for blah, 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 blah. Special needs, special purpose, so on and so forth. Is there instructions on the percentage of the second and third tithe? No, there isn't. It is up to the discretion of the giver and up to the size of the project. So the Adventist Church draw this conclusion. So again, I want to skip. I didn't. Yes, in the GC, they come up with the same document. What is covered in the regular offerings. So when you put offerings in the offering bag, yeah, it covers whatever specific projects that the church, the conference, the union, the division, or the GC have. Yeah. So, for example, Gateway East, some of you all have a burden to start a prison ministry, so you can collect offering for that. Percentage up to the giver. Yeah. So the similarities and the comparisons between tithe and offering, both money belongs to God because everything comes from God. It is, this one is holy. This one, we wouldn't use the term, we use the term it belongs to God. Yeah, it comes from God. God specified 10%. We have the jurisdiction to decide. It's an act of worship. Both are act of worship, returning to God. Both are spiritual response to God. This one express our loyalty as a Christian. This offering express our gratitude for what He has given. This one is to serve people in ministry, and this one is for other ministerial purposes. Someone summarized this way, that tithe shows our loyalty to God. Offerings show our love for God. Yeah. I want to tell you, back one more education, then I tell you the gateway story. Yes, yeah. In Gateway City, yeah, out of 52 weeks of collecting the offering, half goes to the conference. That is the church system because Gateway City is a church. Gateway East is a plant under Gateway City. So you get to keep the 52 out of the 52. Right? So that is some administrative. 4. Only 4 compared to the city 26. Yeah. So that is what you call administrative decision by the conference. Yeah. I'm going to share with you, this one is very exciting, some story about offering. Right? If you look at this photo is an Easter camp. After Gateway City was planted for a few years. Let's look at some faces. Where is Iwan? I saw him. There, Iwan. Where is Chai Tian? Oh no. Yuli, Elsa. Who else can you recognize here? I think that's about all. Oh, Howard, I saw you in the congregation. Then the rest are Jolie Laku Lighthouse, Jason in the city. Yeah. Okay, Sarah. Yeah, I think that is about. So these are Easter camp photos. A few years after we planted in the city. How did Gateway started? It started with a global mission fund. This global mission fund sits under offerings, not tithes. All right? Some people like to give. And then global mission fund has a purpose. We want to plant churches in places where there is no Adventist presence. So we apply for Global Mission Fund because we want to plant a church in Gateway City. And that's how we started in 2003. Global Mission Fund gave us some money to start the church. Yeah. At that point in time, the only 3 of us, 4 actually, 4 of us. Johnny Wong, Tina, myself, and the lawyer's name, I can't remember. Yeah, another lawyer, all right? Then later he left. So only a few leaders. Johnny told me, Judy, I'm the church plant leader, so I cannot be the treasurer. So you be the treasurer. Huh? Okay. This is the bank account I have opened. And I look at the bank account. Only $100? And you want to plant a church? I said, But then, too busy to worry about no money. So anyway, long story short, that's how we started. We started with $100 in our bank account. Yeah. And then, about 8 months into the work, we had our first baptism. One of them is Tommy. You remember the Hong Kong Tommy? Yes. And now he is the associate director in Hong Kong doing media work. Yeah. He's one of our first baptism. And another candidate who was baptized in Gateway City. After the baptism, somebody walked up to me because I'm the treasurer and give me a check. Okay. I am so inspired by you, this group of people. Okay. I want to support the work in the city. And it is $1,000. Not $100, $1,000. I said, wow. Yeah. I can even, in my mind, can buy this, can buy that, can do this, can do that. No, all catered for. Right? And from that day onward, I know that God will provide for his work. Yeah. God will provide for his work. So in 2008, we launched a Gateway East. Yeah. And I remember with Suki, Lauren, and Sylvia, we were sitting in the small chapel and we said, how nice it would be if we can have this religious center as our worship center. We dare not even dream to ask God. We say it's too much to ask God for that. We're happy with a lecture hall. Yeah. But God, lo and behold, bless the work. Again, to let us use the religious center so we don't have to pay rent. Can you imagine? So much savings, or rather, we don't have to incur that high expenses. So God provided the religious center. Yeah. And then, while we are having Gateway City and Gateway East and thinking about Gateway West, yeah, lo and behold, a businessman passed through. Yeah. He visited Gateway City. Okay. Then he visited Gateway East. And then he called Johnny. Johnny, I want to talk to you. Then Johnny called me, Judy, what do you say to him? I said, nothing. I said, I'm not in trouble, you are. So long story short, this businessman sat down with Johnny. Okay, tell me what is your plans? Tell me what is your vision? Tell me, okay, how much it costs you to run such an operation? Blah, 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 blah. So they had a long conversation. After that, he took out his credit card and he put on the table. I pledge to give this church plant $5,000 per month for 2 years. Wow. Wow. And I'm the one who see the blessing because I take the money, cash it, and put into the bank. I take the money 24 times, put it in the bank. Yeah. God provided. Now, do we struggle with offerings? I do. When people come and talk to me, Judy, I dream of this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So, would you like to be part of it? You know? And God always remind me of how Gateway started. We started with someone's offering, Global Mission Fund offering. We started with someone who is inspired by what they see and give love offering to Gateway. We started and we continue to grow this work by God bringing people to give. So offering is our expression of what God has blessed us. Yeah. So tithes and offering is part of a Christian lifestyle as an Adventist. And may we give faithfully, willingly, happily until Jesus comes again. Where's Elsa? Where's Elsa? Finish.